We are live now.
Well, welcome Mesa Public Schools community. Thank you for your patience as we got our technology working so that we can bring to you Facebook Live. This is an event that we have started as we are gearing up to open up our schools. So thank you for joining us every Wednesday. District leadership will be here. I'm Andy Forlis, the very proud superintendent of Mesa Public Schools, and I am very honored to be joined by our associate superintendent, Holly Williams, who has been doing a lot of work within our school district to gear us up and get ready for this modified in-person learning. And that's the topic of today's Facebook Live session. So you may remember that on July 14th, we came out with our Safe, Strong, Ready plan to open up Mesa Public Schools. And within that plan, we have 3 learning models: remote, that's what we're currently in right now, modified in-person, and then moving to full in-person 5-week instruction. So as we are working within remote, we know that has been super successful for many families. Others have found it to work for them just fine. We know that we have been hearing a lot. So we are understanding where remote environment looks like and how to get better at it, because remote will be a component within modified in-person. So let me talk to you about this just a little bit. So modified in-person is students will be on our campuses 2 days per week. So we are going to group our children into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. Group A will attend school at their regularly scheduled hours on Monday and Thursday. Group B will attend school on Tuesdays and Fridays. That allows for us to have 50% of our kids, approximately 50% of our kids on campus. And that allows us to honor some physical distancing, both in our classrooms and in our open spaces within our schools and on our school buses. So that is the intent behind it. So let me talk to you about Wednesday. So you're going to notice I didn't talk, when we first came out with our plan July 14th, it included an alternating Wednesday. We have since made a modification. Wednesdays will be full remote days for students. They will have an opportunity to meet with their teachers in small groups, tutoring sessions, and then our teachers will have additional time for professional development, because we know that as they move through learning models, it takes a lot of learning and collaboration, planning time that will be provided to them on those Wednesdays. So just wanted to give you an overview so that we all are understanding what modified in-person learning will look like. So we know that we're going to receive, we've had lots and lots and lots of questions. So we're going to jump into those. I'm looking at the time, it's 4:15. So I'm going to watch the clock at about 4:45 to see how we're doing on questions. We got started a little late. So we want to make sure that we have a full 30 minutes with you to talk through and answer your questions about modified in-person. So if you are ready, let's get started with probably that most obvious question. How will we know when it is safe to transition from remote to modified in-person?
You know, the good thing about working in the state of Arizona is our county health department, specifically Maricopa County Department of Public Health, has been so instrumental in helping us navigate these waters. They have recently created a dashboard so that it's easier for us to track our data. They are asking for us to track COVID-like illnesses, hospital stays, and percentage of positive tests. And those 3 areas are the areas that we look at as we need them to be in the yellow so that we can go to modified in person, or in the green so that we can do full 5-day-a-week in person. Our current stats show us that we are 2 yellows and a green, and we've been there for 1 week. The other thing they've asked us to do is to maintain those levels for at least 2 weeks. So we are in week 1. So Mesa is still considered in the red because we haven't had 2 consecutive weeks of that data. When I look at the dashboard and I look at what's going on in Maricopa County, I anticipate us having our 2nd week of yellows and greens this week. And hopefully our percent positive will continue to drop, and our other metrics will stay really, really good. And so that we will be able to, I said that wrong earlier, it's cases per 100,000 and our percent positive. We're hoping our percent positive drops to 7% this week so that we can make our transition to modified very clear.
And so when we hit that 2nd week of metrics, Mrs. Williams, that sets the clock then on that transition so that our families and our staff are ready and very well prepared to begin this modified in person. So another very important question that we've continued to be asked within our community is, so when do we think this is going to happen? So following the scenario that Mrs. Williams shared, Thursdays by 4 o'clock, that the Maricopa County website is updated with school level data. We are crossing our fingers that we are in that yellow and green area. So that will move us into what they call hybrid learning. In Mesa, it's modified in person, and that we would start that clock and that we would be able to begin modified in person on September 14th. That means that on September 3rd and September 10th, we need to make sure that we're maintaining or getting better with our public health data. So mark your calendars as an aspirational date with a heart and a star around it, that it is time on September 14th that we are getting ready to welcome our children back into our buildings in that modified model that I shared with you. So one of the questions that has come in quick over time has been, Mrs. Williams, can you talk to us about the safety protocols? How will we be working to keep our staff and our students safe in this particular learning model?
So our safety plan has two pieces to it. One is the equipment and the materials necessary to help keep our students safe. Things like disposable masks, reusable masks for our staff, face shields for our staff, extra hand sanitizers, paper towels, cleaning supplies for our classrooms. All of those things we have been working diligently to make sure that we have stocked in our schools so that when we are in modified, we have the equipment necessary. But the second most important part of our plan is the behaviors that we're expecting. And we've had a question come in on our Facebook Live around what's the requirements for masks. Masks play a very important role in our safety protocols. Masks are required for all students ages 5 and up, so first grade and up. And we are asking that every student, every staff member wear a mask. We will give frequent mask breaks. We have those as part of our plan. And we are looking for different ways to make accommodations for those with special circumstances. And you will work with those. Some of our special needs students may need some special accommodations. But masks play a very important role in our safety protocols. Other things that will help keep our students safe are the physical distancing that we will do, the directional hallways that we're looking to plan, and all of those things are being planned at the school level. We're giving recommendations from a district level for the sites to make their plans that are specific to their schools.
Excellent. And I think that as you hear more from your principals at your school sites, you're going to learn more about what this is going to look like. I also want to let you know that our education, what we call EdTV team, is putting together a series of videos of what can kids expect in the elementary learning environment, junior high and high school. So those videos will be available to you. And you will be able to see and get a feel of what will school feel like, what will it look like. Mrs. Williams and I were talking a little bit earlier before this got started today about restaurants and saying, you know, are we feeling comfortable to go to restaurants? Well, when we do go into a restaurant, they look and feel different. When we go into a grocery store, it's looking and feeling different. So we want to make sure that our kids are of what that look and feel of school is going to be. It will be a welcoming environment. There will be teachers with smiles on their faces. There is a ton of familiarity. We are ready and willing to welcome our kids back into school. So, and of course, maintaining those safety protocols, because we know that the metrics, as Mrs. Williams said, those metrics are going to open up our schools as we are following our state and county guidelines. But what will keep our schools open is our behaviors and our adherence to safety protocols to make sure that we are as safe as we possibly can be during this pandemic. So please know that that is top of mind, but we also want to make sure that these are very inviting places for kids to learn. Do you have a question coming in on your side?
I do. One of the questions is around Kinder U and what are our plans for transitioning to Kinder U?
Would you like me to take that one, or?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Excellent. So as we move into our modified instruction, Kinder U is that before school and after school care that will continue. So we will have before school opportunities as well as after school. And we will have, I'm going to complicate things a little bit, but during modified in person, we are also under the executive order from our governor, we must open what are called on-site support centers. And those on-site support centers are currently available in selected schools. When we go to modified in person, there will be limited spaces at each of our schools for those on-site support centers because the governor's order says we want to make sure that kids have a safe place to be, to access the internet, and to have some type of support and help to access a digital curriculum. So I'm going to summarize because,
Can I clarify something you said?
Yes, please.
You just described our Explore programs. Our Kinder U is our preschool. So.
Oh my goodness, I am so very sorry. I saw Holly's eyes get this big and I thought, oh no, I think I'm going on the wrong train. So yeah. I have a question about Explore, before school, after school. On-site support centers are in the middle of the day. Those are free with limited spaces at all of our schools. And then before school is Explore. So Kinder U. Would you like me to talk about Kinder U?
I'll do Kinder U. How about that? I'll do that.
Oh, all right.
Well, our current plan is to transition our Kinder U at the same time that we transition our modified in person. So we will be working with our preschool teachers to formulate a plan, knowing that they already have a reduced schedule. And so we'll be looking at, are we doing every other day? Are we going to continue the AM, PM? That's not been fully planned out, but I know that our Kinder U leaders are meeting and talking about that and meeting with teachers to have some of those conversations. So stand by. We do plan to transition them also at the same time that we transition to modified, but what that looks like quite yet is not fully developed, but we are working on it. So information to come soon. How about that?
Excellent. And I want to remind all of you that are viewing that these are recorded sessions. I wish we could cut out the bloopers of my last question. That's not going to happen. So these are recorded and we put those onto our Safe, Strong, Ready website so that if you have friends that are interested, they always can go in and see this series. If you find that this information is helpful to you as a family or even as a staff member, we've even had students that are viewing and they send us some really good questions as well. So let's have another one.
Sure. What if cases go up? Can we transition back to remote? And I'll take that one if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
So the answer is yes. The plan that we have is designed to transition back to remote if necessary. If county health gives us information and we see the numbers rise in the county as a whole, our city as a district, and in our sites. So the thinking would be we would watch those numbers weekly, just as we do now. Every Thursday they come out. We would make decisions week to week based on what we're seeing in the trends. And if for some reason, let's hope not, that the trends trend back to the red, where more cases are showing up in our community, then we would have to reevaluate and look to move back to remote. I will say to you, though, the way that you can help us community members is by following the safety protocols. Please wear your masks, use hand sanitizer and wash your hands frequently, and maintain physical distancing. We are confident that if those things continue both in our school buildings and outside our school buildings, we stand a much better chance of staying open. And so we need all of your help to make sure that that can happen. Helping your children practice wearing masks would be a good thing to do in the next couple of weeks, because we know that that's what's going to help keep us safe.
I really appreciate you talking about, what can parents do now in anticipation of September 4th being that magic day that we can open up our schools. I also want to remind everybody that we are talking about modified in person as the learning model today, but every has the choice to choose remote all year long. So if remote learning is the best choice, that best instructional model for you, for your children, it is available all year long, kindergarten, or preschool, all the way up to 12th grade. So that option does not go away. But I do want to share with you that when we are ready to transition from modified in person into in person, the modified model goes away. So then that choice will become remote or full 5-day-a-week in person. We need to be really careful about how we're using our buildings, how we're using our talent and our staffs. So again, the modified in person goes away when we are able to make that transition, and that will be guided by public health metrics as well.
So Dr. Forlis, that's a good lead into many of the questions that we're seeing about the choice that folks are being asked to make on the survey this week. And they're asking about how long are they committing to when they make that choice, and are they going to be given the opportunity to switch if it's not working out for their child?
So let's talk about the survey. That survey went out this afternoon. This is so important. Tell a friend, remind your neighbors, remind your friends, get that turned back by Friday. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, Friday, that's such a short turnaround time. You're right. It is. And I apologize for that, but we need that information back as quickly as possible because that sets us into planning mode. Our job right now is to take all of the parent survey data, those choices that you're selecting for your children, and we're also surveying our staff to see their preferences of which learning model works best for them. And then we are making those matches. Who will be teaching which of these courses? So it's important that we get the information back because that is a very, very, very sophisticated process. So when you make the choice, so if you're making a choice for modified in-person, that is a choice that leads us through the semester. And for many elementary to elementary parents, you think about that as probably when we go into winter break. So that choice stays with you for a amount of time. Now, should there be a situation that arises, a very unusual situation, and you need to make a change, you would work with your building administrator, your principal, assistant principal at our high schools about that, what that would look like. But again, we're staffing teachers to learning models. And so that is why we are asking for you to make a commitment for one full semester or until the end of winter break. I think there was a part 2 to that.
There's a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
If my child gets a different teacher because of what they chose, will their grades go with them?
Absolutely. So let's just pretend that you've got a third grader and your third grader is currently in remote. You choose to go to the modified in person. Depending on the preference of that teacher, the learning model of that teacher might be assigned in another area. We don't think that that's going to be the norm, but that will happen throughout our district. So I want to make sure that you do know that. So when children transfer, they might have a different teacher. All of their grades will travel with them. We've got some amazing people in our technology department that are making all of that magic happen. So that's, again, why it's so important to get that survey data back so that we can make those very, very sophisticated matches.
We have a Franklin parent watching today, Dr. Forlis, and they ask, can we stay remote and continue with Franklin?
Absolutely. There will be Franklin teachers that are teaching in that remote environment, so that will always be an option.
Great. Let me just say, how will a child learn if they become sick? So if you don't mind, I'll answer that one. So
I would love it.
let's say that a student, just as in a normal school year, right, they get a cold or they get, back in the day, for me, it was chicken pox. And so we had to stay home for a certain number of days. Just as we would do for any child who got sick during the school year, they would be given an opportunity to do the makeup work as a sick child would. What's different during the modified, though, is because the teacher is providing 2 days a week of direct instruction and 2 days a week of online instruction or remote instruction, that student has a better chance of keeping up with their work because they will be able to work self-paced in that remote environment because they will still be doing that 2 days a week. So I had somebody ask me today, is my child going to get behind by 2 weeks? And my answer was no, because they will still be able to be self-paced and work when they're feeling well enough to do some work online. They will be able to access their learning even better than we have been able to in the past. In the past, people would call and ask for a packet of homework. Now it will be online, and so they can easily keep up with their schoolwork.
And I think that that's important to talk about. We get so frustrated living in this world of COVID-19. I would like to highlight an innovation that is coming out of COVID-19 in the education world is exactly what Mrs. Williams said. I don't ever envision another day that there will be a packet that needs to be picked up. We will have more than just a packet as a way to connect to our kids. And, assuming that they're healthy enough to stay up with the curriculum, we are able to deliver instruction. We have challenged ourselves in new ways, and that will be here to stay. What else do you have for us?
Yes, we have a few more questions about masks that I'm just going to clarify.
Okay.
Some folks are asking about where masks have to be worn and what types of masks. We're asking for full coverage masks, not the lacy kind of masks that have holes in them, because what we know is what the mask is protecting us from are the droplets, right? And so we want something that has some full coverage. And if a student doesn't have access to one from home, we will have disposable masks and reusable masks that we can share with students who need some support in that way. And the other question was around where do they have to wear masks? And the question is, we will give frequent mask breaks, but masks will be required on buses. Masks will be required all inside buildings, and we will give some time at recess and lunch, obviously, where they don't have to wear a mask because they have to eat, and have some time to, when they can play outside and be physically distanced, they will have some opportunities to take their masks off during those times.
About masks, Mrs. Williams, I want to talk about if you're a parent of a child that maybe is receives speech therapy, or maybe a child that is learning English as their second language, or maybe a younger child, and are thinking about how important it is for a student to be able to see their teacher, how they speak, how they enunciate. We have the most amazing director of purchasing, and she and her team have found clear masks where kids are able to see through as they move their mouth and can see. The other thing that is important is expression, to see smiles, to see a welcoming face. So you will see that. So they will be masked up, but they will be wearing, they will have the opportunity to use those clear masks as a way so that they can increase instructional time with their kids.
Here's a question. Can a remote student choose to come on for one class, like a specialty class, maybe culinary or marching band or something like that?
Great question. We had the opportunity to meet with our high school leaders to have these kinds of questions, because oftentimes there are some classes that are just really difficult to deliver in a remote environment. So for example, welding or culinary, as Mrs. Williams just shared. We will be working at the school level to figure out what schedules look like. Mrs. Williams, do you have a final answer on what we've decided what that criteria is?
We're going to try really hard to make it happen.
Yes.
Knowing that transportation is a challenge to come in for one period and things like that. So our high school leaders are looking for every opportunity to make the classes available. And it's really going to depend on those who are asking, and so making sure that we don't overload a class, because the whole purpose of modified is to reduce the class size so that we have a more safe environment. And so we'll have to weigh all of that out as we make the planning. So I would say, answer your survey for the way that you would like to spend most of your day, and then yes, inquire at your school if you have some specialty requests around things like culinary, and they will try to make accommodations as they can. I can't promise it, but I'm telling you that it's a goal that we have, that we would really like to see that make happen. Excuse me. Here, Andy, this is a great one. Can families that unenrolled take the survey?
Oh my goodness, of course. All you need to do is call your principal and say, I understand that you're moving to modified in person. Count us in the planning. Please call your principal and reach out. In fact, if you don't reach out to them, they're going to be reaching out to you, because we want to make sure that you are back and part of the Mesa Public School family. Yes.
So yes, you can take the survey, but I want to add one piece to it. They have to re-enroll so that we save your spot. The survey doesn't get you a seat. Re-enrolling does. So yes, we want you to take the survey, but we need you to re-enroll so that we have a spot for you. So yes,
absolutely. Because
really
that's how we count kids and get you connected. So yes,
that's right.
And
that's right.
You'll continue to receive all of the communication. So yes, please contact your principal, re-enroll, and we'll get you counted.
That's right. And you can have a survey. Absolutely.
Yes.
Here's a really good one, Dr. Perlis, that I know that you know about. How will Montessori be taught?
Wow. Montessori. So Montessori is, they are working on adhering to the philosophy of Montessori to the best extent possible in a modified in-person way. So again, same model. Montessori students they will see their teacher 2 times per week. Either if they're on the A schedule, that Monday, Thursday. If they're on B schedule, B group, it would be Tuesday, Friday. And they will continue to their kids on multi-age. They will be using the Montessori philosophy. They will engage their kids like they typically would. And then they will provide that remote self-paced work on the other 3 days. So yes, Montessori will continue.
The other thing that they have a lot of is shared materials, right? So they're going
Yes,
to follow all the safety procedures
yes,
around making sure they're cleaned and those kind of things. So
yes.
knowing that that's a big tenet of Montessori. There's a question around, I'm sorry, I just lost it. Clarifying the expectations on the bus and what transportation looks like. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I would be happy to. And I'm going to tell you that as we move to modified in person, we talk about a classroom being 50% of the kids. We're also estimating that our buses will have 50% of the riders on bus for some physical distancing. The most important piece of safety on the bus, in addition to following all the bus procedures, is to have a mask on. We are going to physically distance the best that we can. What we will be doing is seating kids from the back forward so that when at the next kids are not walking past other children, they will start at the back and move forward. Once we have solidified who are the riders on the bus who have chosen, that particular route, then there will be a seating chart and that we will continue to monitor them. We are going to ask our children and our families to practice at the bus stop to maintain as much physical distancing as possible. This is one of those things that we're asking our community, please work really, really, really hard with us, because this is one of the areas that is a little bit more difficult to control because it's out in the bus stops are in the community. You've got one bus driver and their number one job is to drive the bus. So we need your cooperation. Practice, especially with younger children, about their masks, putting them on and how important they are on a bus as well as in their classroom.
Here's a question about how long we're going to be in remote compared to the full 5 days in person. So I'd like to take that one. And I'd like to tell you that I have an answer. And if I had a crystal ball, this pandemic would have been so much easier, I tell you. But our data in Mesa is looking really good. And in Maricopa County, as a matter of fact, it's improving. I don't have an estimation for you. I can't say in 2 weeks, I think we'll be all the way green. I think if our community continues to do the things that we've been talking about around face coverings and hand sanitizer and physical distancing and washing your hands regularly, we stand a better chance to continue to move the numbers down. I have a fear that we will not continue those processes and our numbers could change. And we've seen that happen over the summer. So our goal would be for everybody in the community to work together to keep our numbers down so that we could get to 5 days in a week. I wish I could answer that with a definite date for you. I just don't have a crystal ball to know. I just know that if our numbers continue, we'll be there sooner rather than later. Here's a question.
And I just want to assure everybody that when we do hit that date, there will be you will have a 2-week notification that we are going to begin that transition. That's what we believe that is going to be the best. If we can shorten that amount of time, we will work diligently to do that. But you will have 1 to 2 week transition time because we know that it's important for families to be able to make arrangements.
Here's a question. I think we probably have time for 2 more, and I have 2 more.
I think so. I'm watching the clock.
Yeah,
yep.
I have 2 more really good ones. I will tell you that there are about 475 viewers and tons of questions. So know that we will read them all, and any that we didn't answer today, we will make sure that we put on our FAQs if they're not already there, so that you have a place to go on our website, on our reopen website. So here's another one, Dr. Forlis. Can remote students participate in sports?
Absolutely. Remote students or Mesa Public School students, they can participate in the sports that are being offered. Absolutely.
I'm going to add a second part to that, and I'm going to answer it. It's not about sports. It's about remote. Somebody asked earlier, and I forgot to answer it, and I apologize for that. Is remote the same thing as MDLP? And the answer to that is no. Remote will be based out of your school as often as possible. And MDLP, so there are some students who choose MDLP, and that's more self-paced. If you want a really great explanation of that, take a look at our board meeting from last night. Dr. Islas did a wonderful graph and explained it very well. There's some really good graphics to help you tell the difference between what remote learning and what MDLP is. But remote learning is teacher guided and with a teacher actively involved with synchronous and asynchronous lessons. And MDLP is for the most part, completely asynchronous experience for students where they work at their own pace. So big difference. So when you're in the survey today picking remote, you're not picking MDLP.
And just for a quick clarification, MDLP does it. We do have a Mesa Public School teacher that teaches and monitors the MDLP curriculum as well. It's just the way that they interact is very different from remote to MDLP.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes,
That's a really good one.
absolutely. That's why we're a team.
That's right. Okay, I think this would be a really good one to end with. What if I want to select my learning model based on my child's teacher placement? I'll take it. You went to mute. I don't know. We lost you for a second. I'll take the question though, because we're having some audio trouble on Dr. Forlis' side. So I would be asking that if I were a parent too, but the reality is we're asking the teachers to make their preference choices at the same time we're asking you to make choices for your students. So there's no way to stagger those because we're planning for a very quick turnaround here of student placement. I will tell you we're doing our very best to keep students with the teacher that they've been working with since August 4th. It won't always be possible because of staffing and needs, but we're going to try our very best to keep you in the same place. So I wish I could tell you could keep your teacher. I think in most cases that's going to be the case, but there are going to be instances where that's not possible.
Yes. So thank you for taking that question. I think we've got 1 minute and one more question. I've got a question that came through, and I'm going to ask you, and you're the right person to answer this one. So, what happens if a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19 when we open up our doors?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, if a student or staff member, if the very unfortunate event happens that they test positive, many things happen, but the first thing that we do is we make sure that we have captured that information so that we can update our tracking and our reporting to the county that's required. So we have some forms that our leaders know where they can access them. They fill them out. So our plea to our community is make sure that you're reporting to those results to us as quickly as you get them so that we can keep our staff and our students safe and update our information updated. So once we have the paperwork done, the next thing that would happen would be we trigger a cleaning team that would go out and make sure to do a deep cleaning of the area where that student or staff member has been. We have very specialized training around that, and that will happen. And then the third thing that happens is the notification. And I'm not saying these as this happens, then this happens, and this happens. They're all happening at the same time. So notification. So we make sure that if it's in a classroom, that the students in the classroom's families are notified, specifically that a student in this classroom has tested positive, and the last time they were in attendance is this day. So that families can make informed decisions. Same thing if a teacher, the same notification will go to the class. And then a school-wide communication will be shared that a student in the school has tested positive, and that way the families in the school can also make informed decisions. We will report all cases as appropriate to the county, and if the cases start to grow, then we will have a conversation with the county about quarantine needs and school closure needs if that should happen. I'm really hoping by following our safety protocols that won't be necessary. But we know that there's a chance of that, and so we're ready with our communication strategies, our cleaning strategies, and our tracking strategies to address any of those cases.
Well, we are at 4:47. I want to say thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Williams, who is a wealth of information, who has dedicated much of her professional time to learning all things COVID and keeping us up to date. And I'd like to thank you, our viewers. Thank you for taking time to join us to learn more about this modified in-person model. And again, our goal, as long as we maintain our metrics, if they come out good tomorrow, we maintain on the 3rd and the 10th of September, we are ready to open up. So share that message with your community. Please, if you haven't done your survey, do your survey. Get it turned in as soon as possible. I checked before we got on here. We had 7,500 returned already of parents. So yay, keep it going. Keep that going. We are so anxious to start putting matches together. So again, thank you. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Tons of information on our website. Ina, you want to show our slide about where they can find tons and tons of information? And there we go. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy time with your family this evening. Bye bye.